Now Socrates, he was put to death for, corrupting children. It seems he was getting them to think too much of themselves. So he had a few remarks about children misbehaving, and I think that was a little bit of Stoic Socrates humor for us. And another thought, and here's a good one. If I'll tell you what, we really, I have to believe that others have a right, as sure as I want a right to make decisions for myself, others have that right. But sometimes, if your friends are having trouble, you can at least try to offer some support. And they may just be waiting for someone to, reach out sometimes when friends are suffering, and they may appreciate an offer of support and love. And here we go with some golden rule. Now, I seem to recall from the Bible and Cain and Abel story, and all through the Bible, actually the second greatest commandment of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so Socrates right here is telling us, or suggesting, that we should not put an injustice upon others if we know darn well that it would make us unhappy. We wouldn't want it done to ourselves. So, there's some people say, and I believe this one, the main cause of injustice is injustice. So, street people, tell you what, any street person will tell you, screw me, I'm going to come back and screw you. Well, I mean, there you go. That's really, what we have to expect. So let's try to consider being fair to all people. Now, also, here we go. We cannot live better than seeking to become better. Actually, every day there are some people who every day they review what they've done for the day, and they also plan about what they can do to try to be good people and good workers for the upcoming day. And so I guess that, that's Socrates tells us that is a full and rewarding life, and I think that Maslow also told us that that's the stairway or the steps to a happiness of a self-actualized life where you're really doing what you love to do. So here we go. And Socrates also tells us that knowledge is lasts from day to day, and the wealth can be just transitory. So if you've ever invested in the stock market and seen them pull this stuff about time to go global, and then you got politicians making details or deals, I meant to say, that maybe ain't too good for your investments. Well, I tell you what, just try to enjoy life and try to learn. Now here we go, and here's one. It also tells us no man has a right to be an amateur in matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of his own body is capable. And I think right there is telling us we should all exercise and we should all be aware of the food that we put into ourselves, and especially the junk food and all of these sugars, unnecessary sugars that can cause depression and maybe a lot of negativity. I recall when our soda industry with their sugars were talking about all of the rights of the people who were pushing, tons of sugar on us. They were talking about their rights, and that's pretty good. In the meantime, there are a lot of people getting diabetes. Interesting stuff. Continuing on. So, at the end, well, I'll tell you what, as I understand it, Socrates, the elders were unhappy with him getting these kids to think for themselves. And so the idea was they sentenced him to death. And he was supposed to abandon his ideas to save his own butt. But he loved life. He loved the way he lived it, or at least this is my understanding of how he came to his decision. And apparently, he also had a curiosity. And you know what? He decided to go with his principles. And petty people, well, I believe that Socrates loved his ideas. And he loved his students. And petty people don't understand that as they go about their greedy way of attempting to make themselves richer, more powerful, and enslave the rest of us. But throughout history, people have stood up for principles, because those who have been enslaved have found out it's not any fun to live under a dictator or to live under, absolute ignorance and just stupidity that some of these dictators are capable of. Let's continue on. So, the death of Socrates, of course, now you go over and actually I'm blessed living right near New York City, and we got a Met there, and again, it was Socrates condemned to death for corrupting the youth of Athens, and of course, Athens, the home of democracy, as I understand it. And again, Socrates didn't give in, so he took the hemlock rather than disappointing the students and his followers who loved him. So he was really a great man, an inspiration. Now, according, I thank the Khan Academy for letting me get rolling on this particular topic and some background. They tell us 621 before Christ, people of Athens came up with democracy, which meant a debate, discussion. All kinds of people could talk about how they would go forward, with their government. And they come up with democracy. But at the time, slavery was considered to be okay. Wow, that's awesome. And so, the first democracies tolerated slavery. I think democracy still had a lot to learn. But to move on, but again, thank you, Khan Academy, for letting us know. Oh yeah, by the way, not only were the foreigners, slaves couldn't vote, but also the women. So apparently it seems we got a Supreme Court that would drive the ladies right back into the before Christ kind of democracy. Let's move on. All right, now also, you know, we know that kind of what happened to Roman democracy. The Romans had gotten democracy from the Greeks, and they had been tolerating the Romans, in other words, they were, you know, going with slavery because it's kind of what they had. But let's remember that before the Roman senators ended democracy by killing Julius Caesar, there had been a number of servile wars. In other words, the slaves were objecting repeatedly to being slaves. And so there were a number of wars, and one of them was the War of Spartacus, the Gladiator War, and that occurred in 73 years before Christ. So, you know, when those Roman senators, which again really were the wealthy and in power characters, they had become a little tired of this democracy stuff, and they liked the idea of somebody was going to crack down on all this, you know, human rights stuff.